This is Dr. Blake Jones, and thank you so much for joining me today on the Guided Podcast. I'm here with Chelsea Gibbs, who is a music therapist and a creative person and a business owner. And we're going to talk with you a little bit about your business and kind of how you came to found that here in Central Kentucky. But tell us a little bit about you and maybe like, did you grow up being a creative, like musician, artist? What brought you into the creative arts?
Yeah, so I'm born and raised in New England, Vermont, so like very cold and snowy. And I started playing the flute in 4th grade, and that kind of just became my thing. So, flute lessons, band, orchestra, and then I was like, well, I might as well learn piano too. Well, I might as well take voice lessons. Well, I might as well learn saxophone so I can be in jazz band, So that just kind of became like the band room, the music room was my safe space. And I knew that I wanted to make a career out of music. And the only thing that I knew of at the time was education. So I double majored in education and performance, and I taught in public schools. When I moved to Kentucky, I was in the process of interviewing for music teaching positions, and I ended up taking a part-time caregiver position she was 13 at the time, a young lady with intellectual and developmental disabilities. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I was really nervous about it. I was like, I don't know if this is going to work. Like, I can't wait to land a music teaching job. Well, I ended up falling in love with that work, and then I started doing supported employment as well. So I was just really immersed in the disability world for a while. And I loved it, and I still love it, but I missed making music every day. I felt like, a little part of me was missing. And that's when I discovered that the University of Kentucky has a music therapy program. So I went back to school for music therapy, and I'm so grateful that I did. And I decided to start Central Kentucky Creative Therapies because what I wanted to offer to the community was not being offered anywhere else. So it wasn't like a job that I could just go and apply for. I was like, I'm going to have to create this job for myself. And again, I'm very grateful that I've done that because it seems to be going well.
Yeah, I was looking on your website. You have several therapists that work for you, and it seems like you're expanding. And
yeah, we are. When I started, I was just traveling around to facilities and nursing homes and people's homes because I didn't have any money for an office. And then I got a really small, like 200 square foot office. And this opportunity came along for a larger office, which has allowed me to hire more music therapists, to hire music instructors. We've started doing a lot of disability inclusive events. So we have like a homeschool co-op and summer camps, and we do like a community choir and movie nights and just things to bring people together using the arts.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I'll talk with you more in a minute about kind of the entrepreneurial side of this, owning your own business and what that's like. I guess I'm curious about just the creative arts in general, expressive therapies. Why are they so powerful in people specifically struggling with mental illnesses or intellectual disabilities?
Yeah. So I think the arts are really accessible to most people. So the majority of people have a favorite song, have a favorite band. They like listening to music. They like looking at art. They like creating art. There's something about the arts that's just human, And I think that makes it really accessible to a lot of people, especially if maybe communicating isn't your strong suit. So like sitting down in a therapist's office might be really intimidating, whereas, making music with somebody is a little more approachable. Same thing with like the equine-assisted music therapy. When you're out at the farm, it's not a clinical setting. You don't feel like you're going to therapy. You're riding horses, you're grooming horses, you're listening to the music you want to listen to. It feels safe, and your walls come down, your barriers go down, and I think it makes it just accessible for people, and it feels good, and they're ready to start talking about maybe some more uncomfortable things that they're going through.
Yeah. So let's talk about specifically equine-assisted therapy. What is that?
So I will clarify that I am not an equine therapist. I'm a music therapist, but I partner with Annie's Answer, which is a nonprofit in Nicholasville, and they do equine-assisted learning and therapy. And so we started with summer camps. That's how we started. This will be our third year of equine-assisted music therapy summer camps. And so a lot of what we're working on is communication skills, social skills, teamwork, team building, confidence, conflict resolution, but we're doing it at the setting of the barn. So an example of something that I'll have the kids do is they'll create an obstacle course to lead the horses through. And then another group of kids will, with the instruments, come up with like different cues. So like this drum means to stop. This sound means to turn around. This sound means go faster. This sound means trade whoever's leading the horse while you're going through the obstacle courses. So they're using music, they're using horses, but they're collaborating with each other. They're working on teamwork. They're working on remembering short directions. I mean, there's so many things that they're working on through a simple activity with horses and music.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I just got back from doing a week with the Wounded Warrior Project. I do some couples retreats with them. And in this particular one, they took us to a dude ranch.
Oh, cool.
And they had a herd of horses and they, put them out into the field together, and some of them were fighting with each other. And then one was sort of the dominant one. And it was so interesting to see their personalities come out. And then they handed the veterans, harnesses and their partners, and they said, go out and get one. And they did. I mean, they sort of, some of them had to overcome their fears a little bit, but they walked out and they harnessed the horse.
Yep.
And it was so fascinating to me to watch them, the horse, kind of connect with a person and feed off of their energy. Yeah. So I'm sure you see that also in your work.
It seems like a lot of the kids that I work with, it's like they connect better with horses than they do with humans at first. So if they're in that environment, they really do open up.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about music therapy. I love this because, I'm a musician as well and play guitar and sing and things. And it's always been this sort of this healing activity that I've done in my life. So how is music therapy different than just sort of using music in therapy?
Yeah, absolutely. So, technically you have to go through the training and you have to go through the board certification exam to officially call yourself a music therapist and what you're doing as music therapy. But music therapy is when you're working on non-musical goals, but you're using music to do so. So maybe we're working on a kid's academic goals on their IEP. Maybe we're working on emotional regulation. Maybe we're working with a dementia patient with some memory care. Maybe we're helping a stroke patient relearn how to walk again, but using the beat to the music. So the goals that we're working on are really individualized, and it's not just mental health. Like I said, we can work on academic goals, cognitive goals, speech goals, but using music to do so.
Yeah. What happens in the brain when music is employed?
Yeah. So making music is one of the few things that you can do that uses all parts of your brain. So, I mean, if you haven't looked up a scan of a musician listening to music or playing music while having like an MRI, I recommend you do it because it's like fireworks in the brain. Everything's going off.
Yeah.
And why that is helpful for therapeutic reasons is because of neuroplasticity. So your brain is capable of making new neural pathways to relearn how to do something that maybe for some reason you're not able to do the way you used to anymore. So this is my favorite analogy of what that looks like. So let's say you're used to going from work to home, home to work. You go, it's the same path every time, right? Something happens, maybe there's road construction one day, and you are no longer able to use that same path. So you can find an alternative path, okay? So that's kind of like what can happen in the brain. Maybe you have a traumatic brain injury or, a stroke. Something happens, and the way that you used to do something doesn't work that way anymore. But with music, you can relearn some of those skills by creating new neural pathways, because music uses so many parts of the brain. And it actually, it makes your brain larger, so they can study your brain and tell if you were a musician or not. It increases the gray matter in your corpus callosum, which connects the right and the left hemisphere, and your cerebellum, which is used for like your motor coordination. Yeah, so it's really cool.
Yeah. How about with trauma? How does music work there with trauma patients?
That's a great question. And so when I am working with clients with trauma, I'm really careful about the music that I'm using as well, because we have to remember that some music can almost trigger the trauma, like maybe it's related. It reminds them of a traumatic experience. So I think making a safe space where you're following the client and you're using music to heal, but I don't know, you really have to follow their lead to make sure that you're not causing more harm or inducing the trauma memories. But I mean, you can listen to music, you can make music, which can be healing. You can just talk about the words. You can create art to listening to the music. So it's more than just sitting there and just talking about the trauma. It's almost like a gentler way, I feel, to heal through whatever it is that person's going through.
Yeah. I think music is so deeply ingrained in all of us. Like you said, everyone has a favorite song, or it's an emotive experience. If a song comes on the radio, it's like it almost takes you back to, I remember this happening when this song was playing.
Came out, or
Yeah. So I can see how that would be a really powerful way to sort of bring people out and let them maybe talk about feelings and other things that are buried pretty deep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Or even just through the process of creating music or making music with somebody else, that in itself can be a really powerful healing tool.
Yeah. Do you find that, some people are sort of anxious about that? If I know I've seen videos of you sort of leading groups and things in music. Are some people kind of like, I can't play music, I don't want to do that, and then do they overcome that?
Yeah, so it's so important that you don't have to be a musician to be successful with music therapy, and I try and make that really, you're not taking music lessons, you're not there to become a stellar musician, you're there to appreciate music and let it help you with whatever you're working on. I haven't really faced that, because the people who come and sign up for music therapy, usually they've exhausted all of their other therapy and they're like, this isn't working, this isn't working, this didn't work, this didn't work. Let's try something new. Let's try the creative arts. And they're there because they want to be there. They're not like court ordered to be there. They willingly show up every week. So I haven't personally faced that, because they're there because they want to be there.
Yeah. So what does a basic music therapy session look like? I mean, I don't know if there is such a thing as one that, what would a typical one look like?
So there's usually a structure to it. So we usually start with some sort of like opening, check-in, glad you're here. With little kids, that could be like a hello, how are you song. With an older adult, it might be like singing hey, good looking, or, just something to kind of set the mood, check in, see how they're doing. From there, the middle part of the session is where we're really working on those goals, which, we establish in our first session. So, I mean, maybe we're doing like musical books. Maybe we're analyzing a song lyrics. Maybe we're moving to music. Maybe we're creating music. Maybe we're, there's whatever we're doing is based on whatever that client's goals are and whatever music they like. So there's many, many things that we could be doing. And then we always end with kind of a nice closer wrap up, because transitions are hard for a lot of people that I see. So just letting them know this is where we're ending. Again, with little kids, that could be like a little goodbye song. It was good to see you goodbye. With older people, it could be like, singing You Are My Sunshine, or, just a nice little wrap up. I'll see you again next week.
Yeah.
But that's typically like the progression of a normal music therapy session.
Yeah. Sounds really fun.
It is fun. Yeah. People aren't like oh shoot, I gotta go to music therapy. They're like, oh cool, yeah.
I get to go to music
I get to go to music therapy. This is like a highlight of my week.
You've got me thinking now about career paths in the future for myself. Yeah. So you do music and then the equine. Are there other things that you do? Arts kinds of things?
Yeah. So we had an art therapist and she unfortunately had to move, but I understand. So I'm in the process right now of getting another art therapist, but that is definitely something that I want to expand at Central Kentucky Creative Therapies, because I think that is also a very valuable form of therapy that's great for a lot of people, especially if maybe making music is intimidating.
Right.
So that's kind of what I'm working on next. And then I also just partnered with an LCSW. So it was hard for me to find an LCSW that's really comfortable working with people with disabilities. That seems to be maybe a little gap in the field of social work.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the people that come there, they also want traditional talk therapy, but they haven't been able to find a good fit for a therapist. So that will be starting this summer, and I'm really excited to be able to offer that as well.
Great. Well, let's talk about the business side of. I'm curious about that because I've been a therapist almost 30 years and taught and everything at UK. And one of the things I've talked with my students a lot about was the business side. I think a lot of good therapists are bad business people.
Yeah.
The business owners. And so, we have a lot of therapists that watch this podcast and listen to it. What advice would you give to someone who wants to start their own business like you did?
Well, I will say I'm not, I'm sure a business expert would be like, Chelsea, you're not a businesswoman. But, your 3 music degrees didn't help you manage your books. But I would say having a mentor who has done what you want to do. So my internship supervisor, Dr. Austin Robinson, has his own music therapy company. And he was so helpful, making sure that I did everything the right way, did it legally, gave me a checklist. Like, first you need a name, then you need a P.O. box, then you need this, then you can register for the state, make sure you get your EIN, making sure everything was set up. So having a mentor that you can really trust who can answer your questions, I think is huge. And then just as a business owner, I've worked for people that it just wasn't great. And I, try to make sure that I don't become like the people that I didn't like working for as a business owner. Like, I want to respect the people who work for me. I want to respect their ideas, their creativity, make it a safe space, So I kind of have a list of things like to avoid as well, just from working for other people who maybe were good at their job, but not a great business owner.
Sure. Yeah. What advice would you give to just a therapist out there? I mean, somebody like me who does traditional psychotherapy, who wants to maybe add some creative elements to their work. Do you have any advice about that?
Yeah. So I think just talking with an art therapist or a music therapist, or whatever you want to integrate into your practice, would be a great starting point. It could be as simple as inviting your client to share a song that means a lot to them, right? Like, you're not really doing music therapy at that point, but you're bringing music into the session and you're putting the ball in their park. You're giving them the autonomy, and with your, clinical training, I'm sure you could guide a meaningful conversation after that.
Yeah. Yeah, I had I don't work a lot with adolescents, but I had one a few years ago. I always will remember her. She did the typical thing of sitting there, why are you here? I don't know. I don't want to, just kind of don't want to be here. Yeah. And, I struggled with that for a really long time. And then at the sort of the very end of the session, I said, what kind of music do you listen to? And her eyes just lit up. And I pulled my phone out and I put in one of her favorite songs, and man, she just came alive. She's over there just bebopping in her chair and everything. And I thought, I should have done that at the beginning of the session.
It really does. It like breaks down the barriers,
Yeah.
right? Like people's walls come down, especially when like they get to share a song that they like, you know, they get excited for it no matter their age. They're excited to share a song that they love with somebody else.
Yeah. And it was totally somebody that I'd never heard of and really had no interest in, but it just lit her up.
Yep.
And that was very cool to see.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the future a little bit. What is your vision for your company?
Yeah. So I just launched a nonprofit branch. So that is just getting started. Central Kentucky Community Therapies. So I want all of the community things like the camps and the choir to hopefully be free. So, you know, access to fundraising and grant funds. I would like to offer more sliding scales for therapy and music lessons, just to make it accessible, because music therapy is not widely covered by insurance in the state of Kentucky. So just making the services even more accessible, which I think the nonprofit is my way to do that. We're also physically expanding the space that I'm in. So in the fall, we're going to take over the downstairs of the office and make that kind of the kids' space. So there will be like a classroom, a play area, there's a kitchen. So we can have like music therapy and music lessons upstairs, all the kid and group things downstairs, and then the LCSW is coming on. And so hopefully we're going to get the office right next to us so that she can have that space as well. So I could even see us, I mean, a 10-year goal, I would love to have at least another location in a more rural part of Central Kentucky. Because I've heard a lot of people say, like, this is what my family needs, but you're an hour away and I can't, you know, drive 2 hours a week to do a 1-hour therapy session. So I would love to be in a more rural place as well.
That's a lot. You have big goals.
Well, let's make it happen.
How do you take care of yourself?
I like to keep some music that's just for me. Like, I have to remember that I got into this because I love music and it makes me feel good. So making sure that I have time and I have songs and I have bands that I listen to that are just for me. It's like, there are some songs where I'm like, I'm not ever going to play that in a music therapy session because I don't want to relate like my favorite song to, you know, a hospice client or something like that. And I also like to just take some time by myself. Like every night, I like to just kind of sit on the couch in the dark, quiet, because I am surrounded by music and sound and people all day, which I love. But for me, to recharge my battery, I need just a little bit of quiet. And those things really have been very helpful for me.
Yeah, that's great. Chelsea, thank you so much for what you do. I'm excited about it. I've kind of followed your journey on social media, and it just seems like you're expanding, but you're doing it the right way with what you were saying.
Quality first.
Yes.
I am not trying to make a quick buck.
Yeah, and that's so refreshing. Because,
and anybody would tell you that because, like, if you can't afford to come, I'm like, well, just show up. I just want you here, right? Hence the nonprofit. But yeah, quality first. I want everybody to get quality services.
I love that. Well, thank you again. We appreciate
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. This has been the Guided Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today, and my best wishes along your way.